I'm begging Kevin Callahan right here. There's no one gonna stop me.
Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. This is the very special E3 edition. I'm Hyle Russell.
I am Chad McCanna.
And I'm Jeff Onan.
Oh, no. You
Jeff.
stepped on it. God damn it, Jeff.
I was going to do this long-winded intro where I said, we are joined today by blah, 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 our friend Jeff, referencing Alistair Craig's video with Matt Corna's theme song. You know, a little bit of synergy among the DKVine family.
All of that, by the way, is what's on Jeff's birth certificate. Blah, 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 referencing Alistair's theme song, a little bit of synergy Onan.
Yeah, there's a video, Cheeky Moon Productions on YouTube. Check it out. It's called My Friend Jeff. And that's what I was going to plug. That's the whole reason I had Jeff on the show this episode. But that's fine, Jeff. That's fine.
And I'm Jeff Onan.
Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be back.
Yeah, I guess the last time we had you on was last E3?
No,
Smash Brothers.
I think it was about probably 20 episodes ago.
Yeah, it was when you and I came to blows.
It was actually 30 episodes ago. No, it wasn't. 20 episodes. Wait,
20.
what?
Oh, wasn't I on 303? Or
What
no?
episode is this?
All right, so while we figure out how subtraction works, perhaps we can take some time to discuss what's coming up at E3, potentially.
Well, okay, so it is E3 Sunday, which isn't a thing, but it is the Sunday before E3, and
it is one of the high holidays.
Traditionally, this has been the day when a lot of rumors have been swirling. This is the day we first found out about Donkey Kong Country Returns, or at least the rumor mill was gyrating in our faces because mills gyrate, right? That's the way you make flour.
Yeah, that's how you process grain.
Well, they have sneaks running on the wheels.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, E3 Sunday is
off to a great start.
Not an official part of the show, but I like to think of it as a very saucy prelude. And so we here on the Kongversation, we like to acknowledge that by having our preview episode on E3. Plus, Microsoft's announcements come tomorrow, so we kind of have to do it now.
Yeah,
so.
and by the way, programming note: we are recording this Wednesday night. So
Thursday night,
is it Thursday?
Mr. Hyle doesn't know how to do math.
Okay, see that's what happens when I take a day off from work. I completely lose track of what day it is.
You better not be flying out like a day early or day late. Like, you better be there when I get out there.
Hey, if it's a day early, at
guys,
the very worst, I'll be under cardboard.
Let's talk about E3 2014 now. All right.
Okay. I really hope we see Donkey Kong Country Forever.
That'll be a thing that happens.
Oh, wait, that was E3 2013.
Right.
Yeah. 2014, it was already out.
God.
Fuck.
All right.
So,
where is my life going?
Anyway, so we're recording this Thursday night, apparently.
Thursday night,
So
yes.
if news breaks in the next 2.5-3 days, which it almost certainly will, we won't be talking about it here. But I'd say that the latest breaking big news item that happened was the registration in Europe of Diddy Kong as a trademark, which we'll get to later. So
we'll get to later, but
that'll
assured,
that'll timestamp it for the listeners.
Rest assured, that's going to be a meaty rumor we're going to be sinking our teeth into,
or at least a Morning Starry rumor.
Right. Well, I was just referring to meaty in the general thickness sense, as in like the male genitalia is very meaty. Not that you necessarily eat it.
Yeah,
Well,
why would you sink your teeth into that?
That depends on the genital of the male in question.
Honestly,
Not all of them are meaty.
Yeah, but I kind of like when they use their teeth just a little bit.
Oh boy. Okay.
Just, a little pain with pleasure. It's okay.
So E3.
Anyway, E3. Now, Chad, you seem a little stressed. Now, last E3 preview, last June, you were in this exact same mode where you were like scrambling to try to get some semblance of TED Talks finished.
Yeah. So now instead, I'm scrambling to get some semblance of a Hellmast preview finished.
Right, but that's not even animated, right? You're just editing the footage our friends sent of Hellmast. So.
Well, yes, granted, but I've also got to put on that intro and outro bumper, which is very stressful.
Yeah, that's true. You always do this to yourself. You always add intros and outros when the internet doesn't care.
No, the internet could give two shits about supplementary content.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. I'm not used to having a third wheel.
Not that you're a third wheel or anything.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah.
Glad to have you here, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
No, anyway, as Chad said, a big rumor kind of started to break the other day. I want to say yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yesterday as of the time of recording. But the reason we're recording this on Thursday as opposed to actually recording it on Sunday is because Chad and I are getting on an airplane and going out to Los Angeles.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really looking forward to that part, especially with this water shortage. I'm not really sure how we're going to be hydrated or take showers or
It'll be from the sweat dripping off our own bodies.
are we really going to just defecate in the gutter? I mean, is that the plan?
Hey, in Los Angeles' fairness, it has very nice gutters.
Well, that is true. They hose them down every morning to wash the hobo feces and urine and other bodily fluids
Which-
off.
Admittedly, is pretty irresponsible in their current drought, but
How do you think they got into the drought in the first place? Climate change? No. Their excessive hobo washing.
They like to keep their hobos clean.
I'm excited about being out in LA, though, because last time we were out there, I was witness to a bum fight, so I'm
those
really
are the best.
I'm really hoping I'll see like a bum battle royal or something.
That sounds like something that Matt Corni would get into too.
What, bump fights?
Yeah, a bum fight. Like two guys going ass to ass.
Oh
fighting.
no, I think you're confused, young.
Yeah,
Jeff
no.
Onan.
When we say bum fights, you must be hearing that as the ending to Requiem for a Dream.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's a reference. We're going out to E3 because we. Why are we going out to E3, Chad?
Because we want to see video games
We want to see video games
and talk about them.
and because we're legit this year.
Yeah, in that we bought our way in. Yeah.
Well, we bought our way in, but we're okay. Yeah,
Anyway.
I can't say anymore.
No, let's just move on.
Okay.
Because we were sworn to secrecy.
We didn't sign anything, but it would be polite to keep it a secret if we ever want to get this opportunity again.
So let's move on and stop doing this suspicious sing-songy thing.
Bum fight, bum fight, bum fight, bum fight.
Anyway, so Jeff, you are going to be part of the DKVine Stay Home team, where you're going to help man the fort, as it were, while we're hobnobbing with the gaming elite in Los Angeles.
I'm like when the home security system calls you. I'm like the guy on the other end with the headset. I'm like constantly plugged in.
This
around
is
the
Jeff
clock.
from Brinks Home Security.
So every time we're about to be raped by a burly ethnic man, we get to call you and feel safe.
Hey, Hyle, they're progressive now. Now the women are raped by burly white men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Clearly, you haven't seen a Brinks commercial in a while.
They should really update the Brinks commercials with like Bill Cosby doing his like dance moves from the beginning of the Cosby Show, like breaking the window and then like dancing right into the living room.
I am shocked that Kenan Thompson has not played that on SNL yet.
Is Kenan Thompson still on SNL?
He is.
Yeah,
He's
didn't
like-
he did the Cosby bit on the 40th anniversary special.
Yeah, with the Eddie Murphy
During-
one.
Yeah,
The-
during Jeopardy. They wanted Eddie Murphy to do it. He said no.
right, which would have been really fantastic. But
Yeah,
But-
he really phoned the whole thing in. Kind of gave me a sour taste on Eddie Murphy.
yeah, his monologue was
He
just
showed up.
strange.
They give him the biggest intro ever.
That gave you a sour taste on Eddie Murphy, not the whole last 15 years of his career?
I know, but when you're on SNL, you kind of think like, oh, Eddie Murphy's the legend. You know, you can forgive his other stuff when you're like, yeah, he's going to be on SNL. And then he shows up to SNL and he just doesn't do shit. He's just very full of himself and then doesn't even tell any jokes.
Yeah, and clearly, Hyle, you have not seen Pluto Nash.
Okay, come on.
Pluto
What about
predates the last 15 years?
Norbit?
Norbit, yeah.
Saw that one in the theater.
He was in Dreamgirls, but I was disappointed because I thought he was playing all the roles. I thought he was going to be all the Dreamgirls.
And the Dream Man.
Yeah, so that was disappointing. There was that weird movie where he played the Eddie Murphy robot the Eddie Murphy inside the Eddie Murphy
Dave?
robot. Dave, yeah.
Meet Dave something.
Oh yeah, and that was the one where they had a frightening vehicle driving around to promote the movie that was just Eddie Murphy's head.
Did you know that Bill Corbett of Mystery Science Theater co-wrote that movie, but they no, they took the script was like eventually just like mutilated beyond recognition, but he still has a co-writer credit because
I bet it was
Screenwriter's Guild.
mutilated. Yeah.
Well, that's what he claims.
So video games.
Yeah, I like them. I'm going to L.A. to look at them.
Do you think we'll meet Eddie Murphy out in Los Angeles, Chad?
Anything's possible, Hyle, in Los Angeles.
Anything is possible in Los Angeles.
There is literally no way for us to know what will happen.
Including the end of Chad and Hyle's friendship.
Oh, no, that already happened in L.A., but we made it work.
Yeah, that's right. You see, we're like the Beatles. We got back together because none of us got shot.
It would have happened.
Yeah. So what can the DKVine faithful? I don't know.
DKVinistas.
Yeah. What could the DKVine aficionados expect from our E3 coverage this year, Chad? Because we've never physically been out there. One year we sent Aussie Ben out. Mm-hmm. Actually, he was out there twice, but only once in an official DKVine capacity. And of course, we've sent out our various correspondents like Dick Cheney and most recently Helmos the Dreadfully Evil, who is also going to be out there with us. But what can they expect this year? The first year, any of the actual staff members that are founders or invested in a site more than just arbitrarily declaring Viva Pinata canon and upsetting the whole forum.
Just say anyone who's not Aussie Ben. Stop tiptoeing around it.
Okay. What can they expect with this full throttle E3 coverage? First time DKVine's ever fully penetrated the show.
Yeah.
Gone balls deep. Mm-hmm. What can you expect?
Well, certainly more misogynistic phrasing, like going balls deep in a convention.
Wait, how's that misogynistic? You can go balls deep in a dude.
Right. Yeah. No, it's misogynistic in that the women listeners have no common frame of reference for going balls deep in anything.
Hey, but what about individuals who have balls but identify as women, Chad? There's a spectrum of genders.
Okay. That's true. Oh,
now I'm putting my foot in my mouth, and now I'm offending people who have no feet. So,
Chad's the insensitive one, not me.
Jesus Christ, I'm gonna have to apologize to Watch What Happens Live. What's his name? The guy on Bravo who's like he's now the arbiter of he's like the Al Sharpton of gay politics, isn't he?
I don't know. I don't watch Bravo, but then again, I'm not married yet.
Clearly, you have very little interest in what happens.
I'm just saying, check your privilege, Chad. You're white, male, cisgendered privilege. Check it.
I forgot the cis thing. Yeah, there was that whole South Park that Kyle hates.
The cis scum of a down.
What?
So from us at E3, you basically, we're going to still be around with the news, the updates on our social media venues: Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and the one my wife does. And the one thing that I would say that people should tune into is our YouTube content, because I think really that's what we're going to be able to bring to the table that we haven't had in recent years. We're going to also be able to seek out DKU specific news from the likes of anyone who will listen to us.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if you're a Donkey Kong Universe fanatic, like everybody on this show right now, then you're no doubt just infuriated year after year, just sick to your stomach over the terrible coverage you're getting from sites like IGN, the other ones. So, it's like, why can't they just focus on what I like? Why can't they get to the bottom of why there's no Donkey Kong show at E3 this year? And that's what you're going to be getting from us. You're going to be getting nonstop DKU coverage from beginning to end.
Yeah, back in 1999, those sites and their brazen anti-Donkey Kong stances caused us to take our ball and go home. We did that.
Wait. What? Now you're making it unrelatable again.
I'm sorry. Our gender-neutral genitalia and
Wait, gender-neutral? What about the people who identify with a gender and don't want to be labeled gender-neutral?
What
let's
about
talk about
individuals
E3.
who don't have genitals?
That's true.
I don't have any genitals. I anymore.
What do you guys think we can see from Microsoft?
Well, you know what? Microsoft, good Lord. This is, we've kind of done a complete 180 as far as our opinions and general enthusiasm towards Rare's, the Microsoft's version of Rare, I guess, since last year. This is the year where we're kind of deeply invested in what Microsoft's going to show, and we're very optimistic at the same time. Like, when's the last time you've been this optimistic going into the Microsoft conference?
Oh, it's been a while. Jeff?
I don't really remember. I'm younger than you guys. It's been pretty bleak for a pretty long time.
Rub it in.
I think probably since the second or third Kinect Sports was announced, then it's like just kind of stopped paying attention.
You were still optimistic then, because I would think most people, like, nuts and bolts was the kind of the straw that broke the Gobi's back, as I like to say. And after that, like after Kinect Sports,
Hyle, hang on. That implies that Gobi is a drone.
That's true. He's not, but I still like to reference him.
Yeah. How about the straw that broke Gobi's back?
I know, but that's not.
I know, it doesn't flow as well. It's
that
terrible.
Doesn't flow, yeah.
No.
So thank you for stepping all over my humor.
Oh, you're welcome.
No, but I'm really looking forward to Microsoft. I'm more curious about Microsoft than I am Nintendo, or at least I was up until the last day or two. Now Nintendo's kind of edging up there as well. But yeah, Phil Spencer took complete control over Xbox and Microsoft Studios. We're in the Renaissance, baby. #Renaissance. And we know Rare's going to show something at the show. We know it's supposedly fantastic. People have been quoted as saying it's the best thing Rare's ever done, and they're honored to be a part of it.
Greg Mayles, it's another one of his. Who famously designed Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie.
Yeah,
which
still at Rare.
I think is great, just because Greg is at Rare. His brother Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, is at Playtonic right now.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct.
So that's pretty cool, sort of sibling rivalry or whatever you want to call it going on with the two developers, especially if Rare is making a Banjo successor or Banjo game.
Well, that's what we need to talk about, because if you look around the internet, the general consensus, the common knowledge is that, well, Rare's obviously doing Battletoads, because Battletoads has been hinted at and hyped up in subtle little ways over the last year. Phil Spencer wore a Battletoads shirt at one point. And apparently his shirts are all clues to, I don't know, it's like national treasure. If you follow his shirts, you'll get the gold underneath Washington, D.C. But I think we are of a different opinion. Am I wrong there?
Yes.
Well, I think
I am wrong.
Well, I don't. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. I think we're going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I think it is probably pretty likely that Battletoads is coming in one form or another.
Yeah,
whether
agree
it's
with that.
Rare making it. However, it is possible that the whole thing has been kind of a red herring, where like the fact that Phil Spencer wore the shirt could just be hinting at Rare in general, and not necessarily a Battletoads game.
It also could be that he was hinting at the Shovel Knight DLC. I mean, there's a number of Battletoads things that have come out
but
recently.
I think that's pretty weak if you're gonna say, oh, he was just hinting at Battletoads DLC for Shovel Knight. That's a stretch, I think.
I mean, it's not like his shirts are always prophetic. I mean, it's not like, he puts on a Lacoste a polo and there's a game starring crocodiles.
Look, I'm just saying, in the spring of 2001, he wore a shirt with the Twin Towers on fire. We should have...
Hyle, he's just a big Lone Gunman fan.
Oh, okay. Well, they stopped that, though. They prevented that terrorist attack on the United States, perpetuated by the government.
Okay, then maybe he's a big fan of the Bob Hoskins Super Mario Brothers movie.
Did they blow up the Twin Towers?
They did.
Wow.
The Twin Towers were like eaten away by Bowser's evil Manhattan destroying whatever.
Wow, now that's how you should have ended Mario is Missing. Because, Luigi went into, like, the real world. In that
No,
game.
I don't know what happened in that game.
Okay. Well, I'm just letting you know. So, you guys, I think we're all in agreement that Battletoads is very likely. However, I think it's not being made by Rare. And maybe this is just the part of me that would rather see a Banjo game, because I've never really been that invested in Battletoads, let's be honest. I think I played Battletoads Double Dragons. It was hard as hell. I played another Battletoads game. I think the one for the NES. That was brutal as well.
Yeah.
But,
I honestly feel like Battletoads is... People like it more for nostalgia's sake. I've never had an enjoyable experience playing Battletoads.
Right.
And it's not due to the difficulty. It's... Or at least, it's due to how out of control of the game I feel, which contributes to its difficulty in an artificial way.
the thing about Battletoads is I never really associate it with the classic era of Rare. It always predates that. I mean, it was their big franchise before Donkey Kong Country, and after Donkey Kong Country, like the entire MO of the company shifted, and they just entered this golden age where everything they did was magic. And
Poor Monster Max.
Yeah, Battletoads is really the silver age of Rare, and I think just in general, I don't have any NES era nostalgia. Like I obviously I played the original Mario Brothers games, the trilogy, but I played them on the Mario All Stars remake or whatever, the Super Nintendo cartridge.
Yeah.
And almost every NES era game, I would much rather play the Super Nintendo sequel. I'd rather play Super Metroid than Metroid. I'd rather play, I don't really have any desire to play NES games.
Okay.
Maybe it's just because I'm younger.
That's sacrilegious to most of the internet, where NES nostalgia still trumps SNES nostalgia and anything else, really. I mean,
I think it's just because it's a lot it's a lot easier to redraw and make pixel art from that era.
Yeah.
So people
I don't wanna
feel
say
more close to that.
I'm not anti-NES. I had an NES. I played it. I played the hell out of it. It's where I first cut my teeth on actually, gaming that wasn't Atari. So, I like the NES, but of course my loyalties lie with the Super Nintendo, because that's really, I think, where the magic happened for me. And of course, Donkey Kong Country came for it, and I came eventually. I couldn't come yet. I don't know if I could come at that age. I never tried.
So probably not.
Probably not, no. I never leaked out anything, so...
Usually you learn without trying. Just kind of...
So anyway, Battletoads...
Yeah, Hyle, your mind is just in the fucking gutter, by the way, and we're trying to broaden our audience.
The LA gutter that has been recently rinsed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just already on the West Coast, and this is what happens when you're in LA.
It's like...
You just become... human garbage.
You're assuming that stance a little early.
I am. Well, it's I'm putting that protective shell around me so I can survive on those mean streets for 5 days.
If Grant Kirkhope listens to this, he's going to assume you're talking about him.
No, but Grant Kirkhope, he's got a nice little place out there. He's got a pool, I don't know how that works with a water shortage, but he's got a pool.
He's hoarding it all. This is my Yooka-Laylee playing water.
I think Grant Kirkhope, he has the money to stay above it all, whereas we will be, we lived in the trenches. So
We were certainly in the trenches. Good Lord, LA sucked.
For us.
I'm
sure it's a delightful experience if you're not at poverty level. So
Hey. Slightly above poverty, thank you.
No, yeah, it's true.
We weren't on food stamps.
No, that might have helped because everything's so goddamn expensive out there. So anyway, Battletoads, I think it's coming, but not by Rare. But why do I think it's not coming by Rare? Well, because Rare's been dropping clues, and I just don't think it's pointing towards Battletoads. I think Battletoads is a red herring, or maybe a red-crested beagle.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Rare is working on Battletoads. And again, mind you, there is literally no way for us to know any of this for certain.
Yeah, we're just talking from our gut. They're making educated guesses, but we're not saying we have any insider knowledge. We're not journalists.
Yeah, but we have been following this for decades of our lives, and so I think our intuitions are decent indicators that if we don't think the Rare's big game is Battletoads, it's probably not.
Yeah, what you see now in a lot of places, especially like forums like NeoGAF, is this strange echo chamber where one person posits an idea and maybe they say it outright, and then all of a sudden there's this like game of telephone that's just this panic, and all of a sudden these things are locked in stone actual events that are going to transpire, and everyone freaks out, and then Game Explain picks it up, IGN picks it up, everyone runs with it, and meanwhile it was just someone speculating completely out of their ass. So, we are not that echo chamber. We basically...
No, we're a different echo chamber.
It's a completely different one. All of the things that we're going to be talking about are... They are predictions and theories, but as Jeff said, I think we've gotten good at reading the tea leaves.
Yeah, and really, let's be honest, Rare is a little bit easier to read than Nintendo because...
Well, to us,
because we're students of Rare. We studied at those supple teats, but
and Chad over on the DKVine Twitter has had direct interaction rather regularly with Rare employees. So it's not like
and former Rare employees
who
do know, by the way, what the games that are going to be announced are.
Yeah, it's not the ivory tower of Nintendo over in Japan. That we just have never, we have no communication network with Japan with Nintendo. So
or Nintendo of America, to be honest.
Yeah. They're just not as receptive to fan communicate. They're not the same. Community
they're not as receptive to our wacky shenanigans.
Although, in fairness, we did have an article in which President-elect Obama decapitated Nintendo's most famous executive.
To be fair,
then he shouldn't have been. Go ahead.
To be fair to us, we were just riding the wave of hope, that was going through the country. We got a little carried away with it.
And change did happen, so,
Yeah, we got Donkey Kong Country Returns out of that image, Chad.
Yep, that's where it came from.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I think that our years of being Rare fans and interacting with Rare folk, and especially as of late on the Twitter, I think it's apparent that if they are making Battletoads, they're deliberately faking us out and have been faking us out for the last few weeks.
They have been doing for many months now a Battletoads Tuesday hashtag. So, every week the Rare Twitter has been reminding people about Battletoads, in addition to, the Shovel Knight stuff, the fact that the Battletoads showed up in Connect Sports Rivals.
On the other hand, if Battletoads is being made by somebody else or whatever, they still would want to remind people Battletoads exists.
Right.
But if what their game is making is Banjo, then they wouldn't need to, they don't need to remind people Banjo exists. And if it's a new IP, they obviously don't need to, hint at it like that. So I don't think necessarily hinting Battletoads means that their game is Battletoads.
Right,
Well,
and we have also been the public has been reminded of Banjo's existence as recently as South by Southwest.
Right,
That's
the
right.
Banjo-Connecty demo.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Rare is also, even if they farm their properties out elsewhere, they're still big into promoting it, and you still get a lot of credits. Sometimes you even get the Rare logo on the game. Look at Killer Instinct. They've been pimping Conquer and Project Spark on their website and Twitter, and I think the same could happen with Battletoads. So
yeah, I think that more than anything, that shows that Rare still has a clear investment and passion about their characters and IPs.
Well, and Rare itself, Phil Spencer realizes it's still an important, vital brand that they haven't been utilizing. So I think that's all part of it. Make sure to remind people, yes, Conquer is still a Rare character. Yes, Killer Instinct is still a Rare property.
Well, that's the thing that I really like about Phil Spencer is that it's something obvious they should have been doing from the beginning. As soon as Microsoft got hold of Rare, is pimping the Rare brand. Like it's a very, I don't know, it has an identity that nothing else within Microsoft has.
Yeah, they have the best stable of characters that's ever been, ever in any company.
Outside of Nintendo.
Right,
For a third party, or
I would
for
question that.
For an
Oh,
independent
so would I, but I'm just
developer
saying.
of their size, compared to they're not a publisher, they're not Nintendo, but for their own
They
development,
used to be a
studio,
publisher. They
Yeah.
used to be a publisher.
They
Yeah,
did they
yeah.
publish Bad Fur Day?
They
published
did.
Diddy Kong Racing, Bad Fur Day.
THQ did Bad Fur Day in certain territories.
But
Certain territories,
they
yeah.
only publish their own games. I'm saying that they're not like a big company like Nintendo, but for the size of what they are, they have a impressive staple of IPs.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and so I don't know. What are the clues towards Banjo though? Because we're just kind of speaking in vague terms. What have been the hints?
Well, first off, going back to what we said earlier, we know that this is a Greg Mails joint. So
yes, right.
it'd be pretty.
He went to film school with Spike Lee. Little known fact.
Right. One of them went off to do the right thing, and one of them decided to make
movies.
a cartoon bear. Nice. Yeah. You did a better service to that joke than I possibly could have. There's also some cryptic hints that have been dropped by former Rare devs. And by the way, we do know that they are aware of whatever Rare is working on.
Yeah, Platonic knows.
Yeah, well, I would assume most of Platonic knows. I'm not sure if they've shared it with Andy Robinson, but I think at least the Rare alum probably know what's going on. Did
you just say alum, but like they pronounce aluminum?
Aluminium?
Yeah.
Yep, that's actually what it was short for, because as we all know, Platonic's employees are composed of an oven-friendly metal.
Oh, I thought they just wrapped it around themselves to avoid the government reading their minds.
Actually, I think most oven stuff is usually like stainless steel fused with some aluminum. Nowadays, it's because aluminum it wears.
Yeah, I guess upon repeat use, or cast iron. Cast iron's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So now that we've gotten our metal discussion out of the way,
So
Chris Sutherland, he and Ed Bryan of Nosy Crow, which makes really fantastic artwork and children apps artwork for those apps. Anyway, the two of them were talking on Twitter a few weeks ago, or maybe last week, and they were sort of. Someone asked, "Hey, whatever happened to Tootie, Banjo's little sister, who her only appearance in Banjo-Tooie was a 'Have you seen me' picture on the side of a giant milk carton?" Mm-hmm. People asked what happened to her, and it was either Ed or Chris Sutherland that said, like, maybe we'll find out in a week's time. ... Or it's basically they're being. Without saying it, they're basically suggesting that there will be some sort of Banjo content at E3.
Now, let's not forget, too, that Banjo-Kazooie for the Xbox One has been in the rumor mill for a couple years now. It's cropped up every now and then, starting way back when the Xbox One was revealed at E3. I think there was a rumor that Banjo-Kazooie, Rare and Microsoft were working on Banjo-Kazooie something. I think it was like Witchy World was the subtitle that was, or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, but it is cropped up every now and then. As most recently as last autumn, it came back. So you obviously you get a lot of the fake hoaxes. That especially Nintendo fans know quite a bit about, but. I don't know. I feel in the air tonight. Oh Lord, I feel that Banjo-Kazooie Xbox One is a thing. The only thing that makes me question that, and the only evidence I think that is against it, is if the Platonic guys know Banjo-Kazooie is coming, Banjo-Kazooie as done by what the public wants. Why would they be making Yooka-Laylee hew so closely to the Banjo model?
Several of the Platonic staff were working at Rare while this game started development. So why would they leave if this is what they were doing?
Well, I don't think they had a choice.
Yeah, they were. I think there was more layoffs than.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Chris Sutherland was. He was one of the biggest headlines. We also know that Chris Alcock, unfortunately, departed Rare during that same period of time.
They wanted a little less cock. They said, Chris, 90% cock, you'd stay, but you got nothing else.
And hey,
so.
he has integrity. He says my surname is what it is. It's entirely likely that they were working on a Banjo 3E type game and really wanted to continue doing something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, so I'm not saying that means anything. That's just, wait a second, why would that exist if this exists and everybody knows about it? But it would create an interesting, if unfortunate, war in the public's mind, at least, if Yooka-Laylee is facing off with an actual to God Banjo 3, because people are going to take sides. It's going to become pissy, not among the developers, among the fans, unfortunately.
Yeah. Outside of DKVine, the Rare fandom, at least as far as I've seen, they seem to be a pretty toxic bunch. And this notion that nobody good still exists at Rare. They couldn't make a good Banjo 3, if they tried.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. Like you guys said, Greg Males is still there. What they have is Robin Beanland.
He's the music director there now.
And he is a musical chameleon. So, I mean, he could easily pull off Kirkhopian banjo-style music. And not to mention that Kirkhope is... Kirkhope could provide music.
He's a free agent. There's no reason why he wouldn't. Yeah.
So they have the talent. They have Loveday still there, I think. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
So he'd be writing the script as he did for Nuts and Bolts, I assume.
I don't know if we ever confirmed that.
I thought that he was credited as like the scriptwriter for that game.
Okay, well, if he was, then that would certainly make sense, because, I mean, Nuts and Bolts was definitely a very barbed,
Well,
I
think that...
Almost acidically so.
Yeah.
The reason I remember is I feel like it was it was called, like, the first game he was, like, wrote the full script for, and that's why it was of note.
Oh, okay.
But maybe that's just me talking out of my ass, I don't know.
No, there were some great lines in there, and there's been a feature on Rare's website that I was poking around at it the other day, and they had something where there was some, like, top unused content in games, and one of them was like a Minjo line from Nuts and Bolts that was just hilarious, but it was a reference to something from England that wouldn't have played elsewhere. But anyway, yeah, it would make sense that there would be fond memories about the script on Rare's website if it was the guy who does Rare's website writing that article. So
yeah. Now, so I think I'm leaning towards Banjo 3E, for lack of a better term, right now. I don't know, Chad. What do you think?
Well, I don't think there would be a better term than Banjo 3E, considering that was the in-game title that was given at the end of Banjo-Tooie. I think if they're doing a follow-up, it would be a disservice to the game to give it a pilot or Nuts and Bolts style, name. I think you've got to distinguish from Nuts and Bolts that no, this is actually a legitimate successor to the gameplay, the style, Yeah. And right. I was thinking on it, and that South by Southwest presentation, we know that Rare provided the assets, and at first we just assumed that was the Banjo and Kazooie models, but if you watch the video of that thing, they're going through a remarkably detailed Western village, very stylized, very cartoony, but it looks good, and if this was just sort of a throwaway gag, I wouldn't assume it would look that good. So I'm thinking that maybe when Rare said they provided assets, they might have provided more than just Banjo and Kazooie. So
interesting.
Yeah, that might be something that we can look forward to, because they've, aside from the one section of Witchy World, Banjo's never really had a Western themed area.
True. Yeah, I would be all for that. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I didn't consider that, and it seems like too specific of a thing, like a Western world like that. It doesn't seem like they would just throw that out there.
And why wasn't it just Spiral Mountain or something?
Exactly, or just a generic field or whatever. Unless it was being used for something. So that's interesting. I think I'm leaning towards it being either Banjo or something new. I don't think it's going to be anything else in their current IP staple.
No.
Especially not Battletoads, at least from Rare, because just the what was it, the quote about how it's this hugely ambitious, like the funnest thing they ever did, or whatever.
We keep hearing that a lot.
That doesn't fit Battletoads to me. Battletoads to me is like, okay, we're making a new Battletoads. It's kind of one of these nostalgic 2D things that you throw up on the Xbox Live Arcade. It doesn't seem to be the one that people are like ranting and raving about. Like, this is the big, Rare's best game ever.
Well, I don't know that it would necessarily be like a 2D throwback. I mean, we've said before that Grab by the Ghoulies is, from a gameplay point of view, is basically what a 3D Battletoads game could be, and that is so much fun.
It absolutely could. It just seems to me that the Battletoads IP is something ripe for a nostalgic 2D style game, just because of its age, and it's.
But when is Rare? And I'm not saying 2D is half-assing it, because I would never say that. But
it's just what I'm saying about the style.
When has Rare ever half-assed it? If they're going to do it, they're going to do it in just amazing kick-ass way.
Even Mickey's Speedway USA was, by all accounts, a great game.
Was it?
No, actually, yeah, people kind of like that game.
But that was like actually a Mario Kart clone. If you look at it, I mean, they didn't innovate. They didn't reinvent the kart driving wheel.
No. But I mean, it has solid graphics. It was. You could tell that the people making it wanted to make it a good game. Is what I'm getting.
Well, yeah, because Rare, everybody who works there has a sense of work ethic, and just they hire so many creative people, even to this day. You look at Connect Sports, say what you will about Connect Sports, but it's gorgeous and dripping with detail. It's Rare doesn't half-ass things. So I'm convinced that even if they were reviving Battletoads, it would be in a way that would at least knock us on our asses.
Yeah, much like people are sort of looking at everything that's coming out of Playtonic, sort of slant-eyed. Oh, Jesus. Cockeyed. I didn't
check your privilege, Chad.
I didn't know what oh, Jesus Christ. They're looking at it kind of cockeyed, like, that's not the decision I would make. In my mind, the people at Playtonic have earned the benefit of the doubt, and the same can be said of Rare.
Yeah. They've heard it from us, but unfortunately the rest of the masses, the unwashed hobo masses, are of a different mindset, usually.
It's unfortunate, because those are the louder voices online. They are more numerous.
We're trying to get louder, though. We're working towards being a loud, obnoxious voice to ourselves.
Yeah.
So
a few more decibels in the cacophony that is the internet.
Yes, that's our life goal at this point. So, Jeff, you did mention, you said it could be something new, which I agree. It could be a completely new IP. When I hear it's the most fun thing they've ever done, I'm thinking, well, that's either Banjo or a new IP, which, no offense to them, but no offense to anything else Rare's ever done, but I really doubt it's Perfect Dark. Conquer is in the realm of Team Dakota right now. Killer Instinct, of course, is elsewhere. They don't have access to the Donkey Kong IPs. I think it could be a new intellectual property, but I want to hear what you guys think about that.
Jeff?
Well, yeah, I mean, Rare has never really stopped making new IPs. They've never, rested on their laurels. You had, even when they went over to Xbox,
except when they were told to rest on their laurels and make Connect Sports for 5 years.
Oh, well, okay, 5 years is a long time, but Connect Sports was a new IP. And before that, they had Viva Pinata, and before that, there was Cameo. Before that was Grab by the Ghoulies. All of those are new IPs just from the Xbox era, 2003 to present. So, we're never going to stop seeing Rare's old IP. They're pimping them out all the time with the other developers and cameos and stuff, like with the Minecraft and whatever. But I wouldn't put it past Rare to just come up with a really cool gameplay idea that doesn't fit their other IP, and come up with something totally new. It
is interesting, though, that the pace of new IPs has slowed in the last decade, we could say, from not only Rare but Nintendo. I mean, you really look at the major titles. So I'm not counting like Dylan's Rolling Western. Since Pikmin, Splatoon is the only one that I can really think of.
Right, unless you count the Wii series, which really you should. Wii Fit. They're big IPs, but they're not really what we consider an intellectual property.
Yeah, those are literally faceless. You know.
No, you're right. I mean, especially on the Nintendo front, they definitely can be accused of resting on their laurels. Maybe not in terms of the creativity of the gameplay, which I think is usually quite creative, but just the use of old IP repeatedly. But Rare, I don't know. They don't seem to do that.
It seems like what we're sort of circling around is the notion that it could be Banjo, it could be a new IP, but we've seen more hinting at Banjo than it's something brand new.
Of course, who's to say we've heard rumors that Rare is making more than one game. So who's to say we're only going to see one thing at the show?
Well,
we've heard some things.
One of the more prevalent rumors is that Rare may be working on sort of a Rare Classics, or I've heard the term Rare Treasures, sort of a compendium of titles that they still own the rights to, going all the way back to the Ultimate days. So we might see not only Jetpack, which we recently learned isn't even owned by Rare.
We should clarify that. It turns out it's actually freeware at this point.
Yeah, although they did probably re-up the license with Jetpack Refueled. But Jetpack, the Saberman saga. There's Battletoads, of course, all the way up through Ken Griffey Jr.'s winning run and beyond.
They probably don't have the license to that.
You think they could get the rights to the Seattle Mariners again?
No, because Nintendo owns the Seattle Mariners.
If that was something that Rare was working on, it would be a great way to remind everyone of the studio's legacy and set the stage for revisiting any of those titles, which is sort of what they attempted to do with Conquer Live and Reloaded, but ultimately the sequel to that was scrapped.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a great idea if they did something like that was a sort of a lesser game design overhead than a brand new full-fledged title, but then alongside it they've got that brand new fully fledged title.
Nintendo owns the Seattle Mariners, right?
Howard Lincoln does, right? Something like that.
Nintendo of America.
The company literally owns the Mariners?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not coming out on the Xbox anytime soon.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
we can look forward to Super Mariner Moose Galaxy any day now.
Yeah, as long as they remember that Ken Griffey Sr. was the original Ken Griffey.
The Rare Collection thing, that actually kind of clicks with me just now for the first time. I heard you talking about it, it really seems the kind of thing that Phil Spencer would push in just the way we've seen Phil Spencer interact and talking about Rare's legacy and bringing the Rare identity back to the public. A collection of classics is kind of a no-brainer if that's his MO. So,
well, he wants to remind people what made Rare so special in the first place, why they loved Rare. And I can't think of a better way to do that than just give them all of Rare's historic output.
Yeah, and by the way, this is the 35th anniversary of Rare being a studio this year.
Wow.
So, it is one of those multiple of 5 years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not arbitrary.
Definitely not. People have 5 fingers, damn it.
Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow.
Hey, Chad, that's pretty insensitive to people who have less or more than 5 fingers.
Do you think they're operating a base 8 system?
We can only hope.
Yeah.
Well, they could always get prosthetic golfing fingers, Jeff, so
that's true.
Don't feel too bad for them.
Lazy bums.
But no, we'll find out tomorrow. Well, we, as in presently recording this, won't. But you, listening at home or wherever you listen to this, will find out tomorrow what Rare is up to. And it's going to be exciting. We're going to be there, Chad. We're going to be we're going to be at the Microsoft press conference.
We will be able to hear it coming in real time.
Or however Phil Spencer projects the enthusiasm.
Check out this shirt that I'm wearing under my other shirt.
Oh man, I hope he just comes out, instead of wearing a shirt, he's shirtless, but he has a little shark tooth necklace and a blue backpack and tight yellow shirt. I want to see Phil Spencer's bulge. I want to see tight yellow shorts that just accentuate his manhood.
And then they announce Battletoads.
Just kidding.
Yeah, it turns out he sticks his hand down his yellow shorts, and it turns out the bulge is actually just a toad.
Yeah.
A toad riddled with acne.
Yeah, he could just stop using Proactive for a while and walk out on stage with pimples.
Well, I think we said all we can say right now about Microsoft and Rare.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we move to the land of the rising sun? Is that what Japan is?
Well, hang on. There's still some for Microsoft. Team Dakota may be coming out with
that's right.
Conker's Big Reunion Episode 2, although I doubt it.
I think we would have heard anything at this point.
They've been really quiet for a while.
I believe it's coming, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be coming during E3.
Yeah, we reached out to Dakota to try and meet up, especially as thanks for having previously come on this show. And they said that they're not going to really have much of a presence at E3. I don't think that many Team Dakota members are even going to be there in Los Angeles. So, while there may be an announcement and they're toiling away hard at work, that sort of suggests to me that, they're not going to be glad-handing over a playable demo of something.
Yeah, which is fine. Get back to work, guys. I want Episode 2. I want to find out who kidnapped Conker's friends.
Yeah, it was a surly Bumper the Badger. As
I
we all know.
want to find out who his friends are.
Yeah.
That's the really big.
Well, there's two big mysteries. Yeah. Who hates Conker and who loves Conker?
Right. Who misses him? And who is ambivalent toward Conker?
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Hopefully
can we move
not
on to
the
Nintendo
gamers.
now? Can we move on to Nintendo now?
All right, fine.
All right. Let's talk Donkey Kong.
Let's.
So, what do you think you're going to see? Now, Chad, a couple of weeks ago, you said you thought Donkey Kong Land Returns was a possibility, and I was surprised by that. I was surprised that you thought that could actually happen.
Yeah, well, I was surprised that Nintendo dumped all of the country and land games on the Wii U and 3DS eShops recently.
It's very surprising. Yeah.
To say nothing of DK64.
Right, which came out a few weeks later. I feel like it couldn't have just been a coincidental thing. Like it's again, I'm reading the tea leaves here, and maybe they'll look like a Grimm instead of anything actually substantive. That's a Harry Potter reference.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem arbitrary, especially in light of the fact that Donkey Kong 64 dropped very shortly thereafter. To me, they're building Donkey Kong back up as a standalone brand. And what better way than with a 3DS game that uses the capabilities of the new 3DS and really, pushes the graphics in a way that Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D wasn't able to do, and is its own fresh new title. And I shouldn't have used the word fresh.
You should never use the word fresh.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to see more than Donkey Kong and the banana. But hey, if it's called Donkey Kong Land Returns or Donkey Kong Land whatever, then, that what I want to see is a title that goes off the beaten path a little bit more than the country games that sort of toys with some weird concepts in the same way the first Donkey Kong Land did, like enemies that are flying pigs. It doesn't always have to make sense.
No, but there's a nice middle ground between what Donkey Kong Land between Donkey Kong Country, which is mostly realistic. It gets bizarre, but sometimes mostly realistic, and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which got batshit insane. I think Donkey Kong Land is that nice middle ground. And yeah, I would like to see the same thing. I think the Donkey Kong Land moniker would grant that freedom, that creative freedom, a little bit.
Yeah.
And they revive. I mean, Donkey Kong Land is back in the public consciousness for the first time in years. Now out on the eShop, so maybe that was done on purpose. I don't know.
Jeff, you as has been established, you're a young fella.
You're a young strapping lad,
a buck around town. What's the scuttlebutt on the old college campus about Donkey Kong games? Is there any awareness whatsoever?
Okay, well, actually, when Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze came out, I brought that home, and one of my roommates was an obsessive Donkey Kong 64 fan. Never played the country games. Another roommate was passively aware of Donkey Kong 64 and not the country games.
Wow.
And both of them would have preferred a 3D Donkey Kong 64 sequel. But we played Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze together, had an awesome time. In the middle of our play session, another friend, not one of my roommates, came over, and he said, holy shit, it's Donkey Kong Country. And so he sat down, he was strapped in, like, ready to go. He was a Donkey Kong Country nerd. And these people I didn't surround myself with because they were Donkey Kong fans. This ended up being a coincidence that all of them had some connection to Donkey Kong. Later on, a fourth person showed up, and he walked in, took one look at the screen, he said, oh, it's Donkey Kong. And he was not impressed. Then he sat down and he watched for a few minutes, and then he said, oh, this is Donkey Kong Country. And then he got really into it, and we passed the controller around, and we played for like 10 hours. So none of those people I knew liked Donkey Kong at all. So I would say my generation in general, there's probably a good percentage of people that are fans of Donkey Kong Country or Donkey Kong 64 or whatever it is. You know, everywhere I go, they don't seem to be hardcore. Like, they don't wear it on their sleeves. They don't advocate it like a Zelda fan does.
Pussies.
But I know. I wear my Diddy T-shirt from Fangamer loud and proud on a weekly basis.
I think everybody likes Donkey Kong. You know, I think
that's not true.
I mean, your average people. You go out, and anyone who's a gamer about my age knows and enjoys the classic Donkey Kong games, or at least is aware of them to a degree. I think it's
I was going to say, because I got a 14-page NeoGAF thread now that says otherwise.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think the general public reflects the online community whatsoever. I think it's completely a stark night and day difference between a passive person on the street and a person, you know, who goes online and obsesses over the games, who is going to be a Fire Emblem, or whatever fucking fans they are.
Fan,
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And another thing is that when I went to the Nintendo Best Buy experience in 2013, when they were demoing Mario Kart, Mario 3D World, Wind Waker HD, and Donkey Kong Country, I would say, you know, probably 90% of people were there for something that was not Donkey Kong. You know, they wanted to play Mario Kart, they wanted to play Zelda, whatever they were. But by the time I got up into the front of the line and I started playing Donkey Kong Country, everyone's, you know, they were really passive and not paying any attention when Mario Kart was on. It was like everyone was having their own conversations. They were on their 3DSs or on their phones. But when Donkey Kong was on the screen, the entire crowd turned and looked because it was something new no one had been watching. And there were quite a few fans in the crowd that started shouting stuff. And like, I had a conversation with one guy who was like 30, and he was complaining about how the last game didn't have On Guard the Swordfish. And I was like, yeah, you know, they're out there. They're not, you know, as obsessive as a typical fan base, but I think that most people are fans.
And I think that the sales figures would agree with that as well. You know, it's strange. There's this discordant attitude about you know, between the sales and then the reaction that you see online, and it really does seem to be a vocal minority, an extremely vocal minority,
absolutely,
that hates on the Donkey Kong series.
When you look at the sales of Metroid or the sales of Fire Emblem, it just totally doesn't match up.
All due respect to Metroid and Metroid's more humble fans.
Oh, and by the way, I love me some Metroid. If Retro Studios announced that their next game is Prime 4, I would be all over it.
I bought the Prime trilogy on the Wii U recently.
So did I. Yeah.
Here's the point I'm trying to get at, though. The sales for Metroid have never touched the sales for Donkey Kong Country.
Right. It's a hard sell. I mean, it's a... You know, it's a very desolate, or not desolate, but a very it's a solo adventure. You know, there aren't really any character interactions, and when they tried to do character interactions, everyone hated it.
Everybody despised it, which is why they want another Metroid game.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. You know, it's a game in the vein of Ridley Scott's Alien, but without, you know, Sigourney Weaver or the Xenomorphs. It's very strange, and it's tough for so Metroid, that's the lady, yeah. It's the same problem you have as Legend of Zelda. There are branding issues, and it's hard to get someone to wrap their head around the concept of a first person adventure. What the hell does that mean?
Right. Well, and the other thing I think with the Metroid games is just that the everything you just said is absolutely true of the general public. But you would not get that impression hanging around gaming sites or the gaming media. Metroid seems like this huge thing. Like everyone can get into Metroid. It's up there. It's Gears of War and Halo, and it's a space shooter. It's dark, and it's what people want. But like we said, nothing against Metroid, but the sales figures don't represent that. They don't represent the online culture that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that it doesn't matter what they say online. Donkey Kong is a lot bigger than it appears.
But I think those people also live in the bubble then, and so they can't understand why Nintendo keeps making Donkey Kong games. And this whole stupid Donkey Kong versus Metroid rivalry has just started
it's artificial.
No, but it's because they expect a certain thing of retro, and it's like that's why I'm like almost afraid of what retro is going to announce, because I don't want the pitchforks drawn our way again.
Hey, if they're drawn, guess what? We'll still have a really fun game, even if it's not a Donkey Kong Country game.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The
Retro
culture
is a great developer. They are the closest thing we have at Nintendo to Rare. And they're going to put out something of super high quality because they've never not done that.
Absolutely.
But I want them to make what they want to make.
Yeah.
So be it. That's don't force them. I never want to be these type of fans who say, well, why'd you make that? You could have made Donkey Kong Country Baja Blast.
Yeah,
I don't want to be like that. I want to see that game,
right?
But I'm not going to hold it against anybody, nor am I going to hold it against the game they actually want to make.
Well, thankfully, we do know that Retro has said there are some things they should have done with Tropical Freeze, one of them being Animal Buddies. So we know that they're already thinking about possible ways to improve upon the formula.
And we know that they still have an investment in the series.
Right.
In that, they have, on Twitter, they don't have as big of Twitter presence as Rare or former Rare's
Retro
employees do.
Studios' Twitter account follows DKVines.
Yeah, and they follow people like the Kremlin campaigners, the Bring Back K. Rool movement. So they still have an investment. They could have just washed their hands with this series after Tropical Freeze. They're not doing that.
And they made three Metroid games and the trilogy collection. So that tells me that they don't step away from something until they are satisfied, and we know they don't feel satisfied with with Tropical Freeze.
And I feel like them making that trilogy collection and taking the fantastic Wiimote-based controls of Metroid Prime 3 and applying those to parts 1 and 2, that's putting a bow on their time with Metroid to me. But yeah, as you say, it doesn't feel like they've put a bow on Donkey Kong yet.
And the other thing is that even if the online community is, rabid and they are going to be, drawing the pitchforks, the thing is that anti-Donkey Kong movement has receded in recent, months or even year.
It has, yeah.
And I think the vocal Metroid, rabid dogs have kind of died down, and you're seeing a lot more people who actually enjoyed Tropical Freeze, including those who initially wanted to hate it.
Yeah, it's a very tough game to hate.
There's widely publicized, examples of whether they're journalists or just online personalities that were not enthusiastic about it and then just thoroughly loved the game.
That being said, I think the odds are basically nil that we're going to see a new Donkey Kong Country game at E3.
Unless it's someone else doing it.
Right.
Unless it's someone else doing it.
Just
but like
timing wise, it's not the year.
I think now Retro has expanded their studio though. Don't they have about 100 employees now?
They do.
So,
which honestly though, the team sizes necessitated by AAA titles is expanding as well.
Oh, but Chad, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze wasn't a AAA title. It was a platformer. You can't, man. It's just not a AAA. It's just a shovelware, man.
Shovelware, Jesus
They were
Christ.
making it on the side while they were working on their real game.
The real game. Yeah.
The people at the kids' table were making Tropical Freeze, while the manly men were making Metroid Prime 4.
They make the newbies cut their teeth on Donkey Kong so they can go up to the real team.
I would take it. Honestly, if that's the way they treated it, hey, at least we still be getting great games.
Dude, if the B team at Retro made Tropical Freeze, they are no longer the B team in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, so Monster, can't forget about Monster. They could be behind Donkey Kong Land Returns.
Mm-hmm.
They Retro might be doing something Donkey Kong. I think we're skirting around the rumor. I was going to bring up Donkey Kong 64 2-ish, which is something we always like to bring up, but I honestly, who knows? Maybe that's why they pimped Donkey Kong 64 a couple months ago. But
Camelot,
but hey, you know what?
It's been a few years.
Well, but a game like that would take a few years to make.
An offhand remark that would lead to a development might not seed the fruit until now.
That's true.
That almost sounded like a fortune cookie statement.
Yeah.
We've been talking about reading tea leaves. Maybe we should check the fortune cookies.
Okay. Well, what is this rumor that we already discussed at the top of the show and that we're tiptoeing around, Hyle?
Well, a couple days ago, as in it was yesterday, as of the time of recording, a couple days ago, by the time you hear this, Nintendo of America either filed or completed the process of
Nintendo of Europe.
What did I say?
America.
Did I say America?
Yeah.
Well, sorry, but I love this country, Chad. I love it, Jeff.
That's okay, Hal. I love it too.
I
have regular conjugal visits with this country.
I mean, I love European girls, man. I like going over there, man. They know how to treat your willy right. They just.
That's true, man. But when you go home to America, there ain't nothing like those corn-fed hubba-da-bubba-da-bubba-da-bubba-da.
I like the cankles. I like the fat. I like them chubby.
It's like I say, more cushion for the thrusting.
Nintendo of Europe either renewed or completed their trademark on Diddy Kong. I'm not sure how this process works, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, it's really I don't know the difference between a trademark and a copyright. And
copyright is extremely weak in legal eyes. Basically, a trademark is one of the stronger ways to secure a property. Basically, any creative work that you do, you can put a C with a circle on it and a date, and you now have the copyright to that. So since that's the burden for establishing a copyright, it is equally difficult to prove copyright. So for things that are going to have a huge, monetary foundation to something, trademarking is the way to go. Now, what's not clear is whether or not this is just a regular renewal or if they realized, oh, fuck, for some reason in Europe, Diddy Kong is not trademarked.
But the thing that makes this newsworthy is the timing of it.
Yeah.
Why the hell does this happen a few days before E3? And Chad, you did some research into this.
Mm-hmm.
It was Nintendo of Japan that kind of egged Nintendo of Europe into this, right?
Yeah, it was. Well,
not egged, but they've.
If you read the copyright, you can basically see that it is Nintendo Germany, or at least Nintendo of Europe's Germany offices that are doing this on behalf of Nintendo Japan.
Oh, so the Axis powers.
We've got a whole Axis thing, yeah. I really am wondering what Nintendo Italy is up to.
So, yeah, well, they're behind Mario 100%. So
you'd think they'd be behind the next Wario game, right?
What?
Because Wario and Waluigi
a fascist.
Are Nazis.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, they're Nazis.
Well, if Nintendo is the Axis, then that means Microsoft is the Allies, because you've got the British, the Americans, and maybe they'll open up a Moscow office.
The Professor and Marianne, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Guam.
No, but I find it interesting. Yeah, Nintendo of Japan kind of requested that Nintendo of Europe do this.
Yeah.
Now, my theory that I shared with you, Chad, and I think I shared with you, Jeff, is that they're getting all their ducks in a row for E3 next week, making sure they have everything locked down, and they noticed a glaring oversight. Whoops, Diddy Kong's trademark in Europe has lapsed. We better get on this.
And this is not unprecedented. Now, it's been a long time since I've looked into trademarks, but back when we were doing DKVine in high school, I remember around E3 time and the few months leading up to E3, I would regularly go and see if anything new has been filed by Nintendo or Rare. And I recall that's how we first found out about My Garden which ultimately turned into Viva Pinata.
Wasn't that like how we found out about Grab by the Ghoulies?
Yeah, I want to say it was. Yeah, and so you will see leading up to E3 an increase in IP trademarks that probably will pay off in some way at E3.
Right.
So
Now,
if-
it makes sense from the business perspective that's when you start worrying about those kind of things, is leading up to E3, leading up to a reveal of the game, then it would
Right.
happen. You know, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you don't want to get stuck in a situation where you make a huge announcement and then someone, immediately swoops in and snaps up all the rights to the thing that you've been developing for years.
Which we could do. We
Right.
could have done that. We could have.
Right.
We could own the Diddy Kong name. Could you imagine that?
Yeah, we could have had suspender and masquerade costume rights to Diddy Kong in Europe.
In Europe.
That's right.
yeah.
That's why I like to just buy up all the website names that I can. If anybody ever makes a video game called Dookie's Garden, I already own that. So
Wow, you
EA.
are giving a whole new
EA,
a whole
get
new
at me.
definition to squatting.
I'm just saying, if Microsoft really wants to commit to X-Boys, they're gonna have to get the X-Boy dungeon for moi.
That's true. Doesn't that forward to DKVine?
Yeah, it does.
You son of a bitch.
So obviously, a Diddy Kong centric trademark, and as far as I know, Nintendo of Europe didn't renew anything else during this time, right? It's just Diddy Kong. At
well,
least
that's
as far
the
as
one
we're
that
aware.
made headlines. I don't know. if
Yeah,
you think-
I have not looked into that.
I've tried to look into it, and the website was crashing, so I just assumed all of NeoGAF was descending upon it, trying to look for Metroid-related titles. So obviously, this spurs the big enchilada of a rumor that I've been pimping since last summer, and honestly, since the conversation began, episode 1 of the conversation, Diddy Kong Racing Wii U rumors.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
the thing that I find really interesting is that it's a trademark for Diddy Kong of all things. Like, obviously Diddy Kong's a big character, but it's not the kind of thing that just kind of that you think like Nintendo is just getting their ducks in a row in a general like just random trademark renewal. Donkey Kong Country, whatever. But the fact that it's Diddy Kong points to very specific implications.
Yeah, you wouldn't if Diddy Kong was a playable character in Mario Party 11, you wouldn't expect them to go out of their way to register that trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does definitely it seems to suggest a place of prominence for Diddy at E3.
Now, it could just be a crazy coincidence, and we're reading way too much into it because hashtag we want to believe in Kevin Callahan.
That is not the hashtag.
I
No,
don't.
It's hashtag I believe in Kevin Callahan.
Can I just point out that I don't believe in Kevin Callahan? That
No, neither do I. I think it's still full of shit.
I think a Diddy Kong Racing possibility exists, but it has nothing to do with the fictional character Kevin Callahan.
You and me,
Oh.
Jeff. You and me.
Chad.
Mm-hmm.
You did some digging. You found the Kevin Callahan posted on Perez Hilton.
I did actually. So yesterday, as of recording time, I saw this Diddy Kong thing, and I went back and reread the Kevin Callahan article, and I looked at the username because I was trying to find some form of contact info for Kevin Callahan. The user that he established on his blog was Kevin Callahan World, all one word, all lowercase. So I searched for that, and I found one other reference to Kevin Callahan World, and that was a post it was on Perez Hilton's website, which apparently has a section on there that's sort of like a Reddit-style link aggregator that people can submit to. So Kevin Callahan World has an account on Perez Hilton, and he posted a link to an article about Super Smash Brothers. So video game connection, Nintendo connection, Kevin Callahan World, and that post was made a good year after the original Kevin Callahan blog post.
So what you're saying is that Diddy Kong is going to be a DLC character in Super Smash Brothers.
Yes, and there's going to be a special Diddy Kong costume where he's covered with MS Paint semen. That's a thing that Perez Hilton does.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but so basically the takeaway from this is that someone using the exact same very specific name and having an interest in video games was active a year after that original Kevin Callahan blog post. So if it was just some stupid 4chan or NeoGAF hoax, it's unlikely that they would have still been using an account for that.
However, if it's a legitimate, video game developer person, wouldn't. I don't know, man.
They would have been basically ruining their career prospects.
Yeah,
Well,
and
here's
then
the thing,
we'd have heard of him. We'd see more evidence that he exists.
Kevin Callahan wouldn't be their real name. It's a pseudonym. It's not actually their given Christian
Also,
name.
it's actually Benjamin Franklin.
I'm just saying, like, the Kevin Callahan rumor speaks to me for
Kevin
the
Callahan
reason,
is his slave name.
The reason it speaks to me is because it actually makes sense as far as the timeline goes. Like, everything that it lays out, like, you look at all these other hoaxes that have come up, and they're big and flashy. Kevin Callahan's rumor is substantive in the detail. It's so very well done.
It's not, though. It's not. It's
How so?
like the whole connection between, like, there is literally one piece of quote-unquote evidence to back up everything in that blog post, and that's the Excite world or whatever the
bots.
The Excite bots. How there's a frog vehicle that looks sort of like Winky, but not really. That is literally the only piece of evidence in that whole thing, and it's a stretch.
Well, the thing is, like Hyle said, is that it seems to make a lot of sense. And like whatever you just said about how it connects with you because it just seems to line up so perfectly, I think that's like it lends credence to the being fake. I mean, not that obviously real life would also make sense, but good fakes make sense. They fake a thing that makes sense.
Okay. But I'm talking like as far as internet hoaxers go. This, and I still maintain that if this is actually a forgery, a fabrication, and if E3 comes and goes,
it's not even a forgery. He just wrote some words on a page.
If E3 comes and goes, and we don't see Diddy Kong Racing Wii U, I will start to admit that my faith in Kevin Callahan is a bit shaken.
Oh my God!
But if Kevin Callahan is a fraud, then I maintain that it has to be somebody from the DKVine forum, because all of these news stories, all of this detail is something that a DKViner would know, and that's why I but I had my suspicions that maybe it was Saf behind it, because it seemed like somebody who was had a very scholarly interest in this kind of stuff. But ultimately, I came to the realization that Saf is more interested in being a chronicler of the truth rather than perpetuator of lies.
Yeah.
So,
well, if you're going to be dropping around X-Files terminology, I would say that while I don't believe in Kevin Callahan, I want to believe.
I'm okay with that.
The thing that I want to say real quick, just about like leaks and hoaxes in general, is and this is just a difference between you guys and me in terms of our personal relationship with the newest Super Smash Brothers game. I was a lot more invested in that pre-release period, I think, than you guys were. Mm-hmm. And so being involved in that pre-release for Super Smash Brothers has completely changed my perspective on hoaxes and leaks, because the fucking Super Smash Brothers community has completely blown me away at how good they can be in making leaks. There was this one in particular. Obviously, there's the Sal Romano thing, that whole thing that happened. But
you almost said it.
The macaroni stuff. That's not even what I'm talking about. There was one where somebody create the Smashed or Smashify that art channel.
Yeah,
they
is this the Rayman one?
Yeah, the first one they did before it became like a regular series was Rayman. And it created it as a leak,
this is Rayman, not the Dustin Hoffman character.
Right, Rayman, not Rain Man.
Definitely OP.
Definitely not Rain Man.
When's Wapner going to be DLC? I want Wapner.
Hey, Tom Cruise. What do you think Scarf Boy thinks of me?
This leak looked legitimate. He looks like he's got a model of fucking Rayman, like he's the splash page for like Rayman joins the whatever bullshit.
Okay. Okay, but Jeff, that's just
it was very
skilled at Photoshop.
No, it's being skilled at After. It's like expert level After Effects
it's
work.
Very, very professionally done artwork, And
I watched
Kevin
the
Callahan doesn't even have fake art. So if I can't trust fake art like Rayman, then I can't trust fake words.
But I believe in Kevin Callahan because he doesn't have fake art.
You know, look, dude, I looked at it, and Kevin Callahan's picture of Winky is from the DKVine gallery. We cropped that artwork, and it has all the little niggly bits of croppage around like the joints,
Niggly
identical.
Tag nuts.
Exactly, all of those. It's from our site.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you type Winky the Frog in a Google image search, you're bound to have something from DKVine pop up in the first few. We're established. I mean, I'm saying, I think if he is a hoaxster, a giggly little gnome who's there to feed us a bill of goods, then I think that he's from DKVine. So I'm not disagreeing with you there. But what I'm saying is, if he's just looking for an image of Winky quickly, DKVine's going to provide him one of the best options. So that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I sort of agree with Jeff that there are hoaxes, and then there are hoaxes, and this
think
one is of the lazier type.
I think, as somebody who appreciates a good yarn more than I do a good picture, then that's why the Kevin Callahan story resonates with me.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Chad.
I was just saying, speaking of a good yarn, is it really still Q3 the release of Woolly World? It's fucking ridiculous. But
you got to fill that Zelda-shaped hole in the schedule.
Yes, Rule 34 subscribes to the same philosophy.
You got to fill that hole.
You know what would fill a good Zelda hole. You know what would be a
Diddy Kong
good
Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing. You know, it happened before.
It's the yarn, though. You're too into the yarn of the story. The thing, and whether or not the Kevin Callahan thing turns out to be true, I'm just saying that this is just now a rule for me, that after the Smash Brothers thing, I just will not believe a leak until proven true.
But Jeff, all you're doing is closing your heart off to joy.
No, I'm closing it off to disappointment.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Hyle. I mean, Jeff and I are both looking at this Diddy Kong trademark registration as a point in DKR Wii U's favor, just not Kevin Callahan.
But you see, Kevin Callahan is the prophet. He is the prophet of our times.
This is the most times anyone has ever used the name Kevin Callahan ever.
If Diddy Kong Racing turns out to be true, which both Chad and I see as a possibility, then Hyle will forever believe that Kevin Callahan was real.
I think
it'll be the thing that sparks his lifetime belief in Santa Claus type of situation.
I think
the jingle bells on the roof.
No, it's going to be like at the end of a TGIF sitcom when the character gets that gift that nobody else could have given them, and they look up and they say, "Thanks, Santa."
Yeah, and then you hear those.
Kevin Callahan.
Yeah, then a character runs to the door, a little kid, most likely. He looks up and he sees him.
Yeah,
he sees him flying in the sky.
He was Will, and then Joey backhands Michelle.
They never saw Santa Claus on Full House, only on Family Matters, Home Improvement. Anyway, so I think Diddy Kong Racing Wii U is a strong possibility. I think if it is coming, it's a joint production by Retro and Monster, just as Kevin Callahan said.
Okay. So there's also a Star Fox thing that we literally know nothing about.
Do you think they'll actually show Star Fox this year, or will they say?
Yeah.
Or will they say? Are they going to say we're going to show Star Fox in just a little bit, and then Miyamoto shows his little robot boxing game, and then he leaves before he shows Star Fox?
No, they've confirmed it'll be there.
Well,
we will be playing Star Fox in 2 days.
This could be wrong, but I thought they said that when they announced it, what was it? They said not when they announced it, but this was later. Zelda and Star Fox. They said Star Fox is going to launch before Zelda. And that was before Zelda was delayed. So, but at the time, the implication was that Star Fox would release like early in the fall. And it could also be delayed. But the implication was that Star Fox was a lot farther along than we were led to believe.
Yeah, and also the nature that he's doing it in, unless it's changed since last year, it was going to be sort of episodic installments, which would have a lower development overhead, at least to release the first one.
Yeah, Star Fox Big Reunion, episode 1.
Exactly. So, and by the way, that leads us to the question of, is this a reboot or a continuation? Because if it's a reboot, we very well may not be covering it on the site if it doesn't have Crystal or Tricky. So if it's a Star Fox big reunion, then hey, bully for us.
Here's the thing, though. Everybody like wants, not everybody off DKVine wants it to be a reboot because they have this terrible vendetta against everything that came after Star Fox 64, which, by the way, they remade Star Fox 64 and it sold terribly. So you tell me what people
I didn't
want.
Look at the sales for the 3D.
It didn't sell great. Maybe terribly is a bit of hyperbole.
It didn't make a big splash in the water.
It didn't. So
in the way that the 3D ports of Ocarina and Majora have done.
Right. It kind of
DKCR 3D.
Right.
Yeah. So it didn't really do anything. So I think everybody's saying, it's going to be a reboot. I think it could very well take place before Adventures, but I don't think they're going to invalidate Adventures from the canon. I think that's silly. That's not really Nintendo's style.
Here's what the way I see it is. There's a very real possibility that Crystal won't be in it. I actually think that's ridiculous to think, because Crystal's massively popular, especially in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal's
really, because I've heard
Crystal's highly voted for in the Smash Brothers ballot shit all the time. Up there.
Japanophiles on the DKVine forum have argued until they were blue in the face that Crystal is not popular at all in Japan, and actually Japanese gamers hate her, etc., etc.
Well,
et cetera.
naturally, I'm a secondhand source. I'm just reading what I thought I've read, but I don't read Japanese forums and shit, so who knows? My impression was that she's a popular character. Either way, whether or not she's in it, I don't think the game will be a reboot. It might not be DKU, but I think it's just Miyamoto's style in the sense that
he doesn't care about.
He doesn't.
Story.
It won't even come up what the story is. It might contradict a few details. Nothing that we can't fan wank, but he'll be minimal on the story to a point where you might consider it a reboot. But
so here's the quandary that we might be in. I agree that, regardless of whether she's big in Japan, I think Crystal is sort of here to stay for the franchise because she's a female character.
That's true.
And,
do you really want your Team Star Fox to be such a sausage fest in 2015?
Right.
Check your privilege, Chad.
Well, how many female pilots were in Top Gun?
That's a great point.
But here's the thing: if
they didn't even invite them to that volleyball game.
But aren't they remaking Top Gun? And I'm sure there's going to be female pilots in the remakes. So,
I would agree that Japan may be bigger Crystal fans than we realize, because Japan's a very exercise-oriented nation, and and we know that Crystal looks great on an elliptical. Great in air quotes. But I think here's what we might be faced with. What if they say that this new Star Fox game is a reboot of the franchise, but it involves Crystal?
It's DKU.
It's DKU.
It's DKU because DKU is a physical character-based thing. It has nothing to do with internal game logic or any story consistency.
But I feel like it does, though. I think that we would have to do some gymnastics
we would look at it as an alternate timeline. It wouldn't.
Yes.
See,
Jeff,
the DKU is not as the physical universe. It might not exist in, but the DKU as the rule set, it would be DKU.
I would say that
just like what I said about Star Wars fans who are accepting the death of their expanded universe. I would say make it work.
Right, and I would say that we there are a few elements in the Star Fox world that could help us with that. I've theorized that the orbital gate from Star Fox Assault is what allowed Tricky to journey to Earth.
Right.
Perhaps that's a wormhole that could sort of make the timeline loop back on itself and spit Crystal there.
Well, in the last canon game in the skipping the remake was Star Fox Command, which ends in a branching of timelines, and this is something that Hyle has not done the slush fund of it yet. It's not. I don't know what the official stance is, but I consider all the timelines to be divergent canon paths.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the Donkey Kong universe is a multiverse.
So
it's perfectly valid. Yeah.
If they made a new Banjo-Kazooie reboot starring Banjo-Kazooie that was a wipe of the canon, it'd be DKU.
Well, here's the thing.
Even without Hyle's fan-wanking gymnastics. If those,
Thanks, Jeff.
like you said, those will work. We will
I'm
make
really
it work.
not needed here, am I?
It's a very popular event at the Olympics, by the way.
Yeah, I
I'm just
know.
saying that.
Speaking of the Olympics, we've got to talk about the Rio
Hey.
Games.
Forget it.
her name is Rio, and she.
And I think we brought this up on the show or elsewhere on DKVine. We were faced with this possibility back during that Magic E3 of 2000 when Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge was announced, or was it 2000? It was 2001. Excuse me. We always confuse that.
Yeah.
And because Grunty's Revenge was originally an alternate timeline. It was still going to be DKU.
Yes, we just at that point we didn't know that there was a framing device that made it an intriquel.
No, but originally it was planned to be an alternate timeline. It was going to be what happened in lieu of Banjo-Tooie if Grunty's sisters never came. And then Rare thought better of it, and they decided to make it would work as an interquel, and they massaged the plot.
Oh, I don't recall that. I thought it was
yes.
always a closed loop. Of the story.
I consider Banjo Pilot an alternate timeline just because of the.
Well, Jeff, you're wrong.
Fine.
No, hang on. It's you've got Jolly
there's-
interacting with Gruntilda the witch.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but Gruntilla, she's clearly projecting a hologram around her skull.
See,
Clearly.
the gymnastics will work every time. He's got the gold medal.
He's got holograms and prosthetic golfing fingers and a chest of time. That's literally all you need.
That's all you need. That love is all you need. No, I argue that all you need: prosthetic golfing fingers, holograms, chest of time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and a magically racist purple elephant.
Man, I cannot wait until we have to, argue with people on the forum against Miyamoto's word of God that the new Star Fox is a reboot. Like Reggie Fish on the forums and Manfrog, they're gonna be so upset with us for covering it.
I eat those guys for breakfast.
Delicious. So that's Star Fox. I don't know if there's much more we can say because it's been radio silent since E3.
It's literally nothing.
Yeah.
Miyamoto is not a very chatty Cathy.
No, he's not.
He keeps to himself. He's in his garden.
He's not a very chatty Shigeru.
So Smash Brothers, Mario Kart. Do we think there's going to be any more DLC announced? I mean, in my mind, Mario Kart is less likely considering they've been really doing well with the DLC on that game. But Smash Brothers, we know that there's going to be a Sakurai Direct that is going to be out around the same time you're listening to this.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably already happened.
Either before or after or during this. One of those three things,
That about covers it.
There
yeah.
will be a Nintendo Direct focused on Smash Brothers, and
do we know what's going to be there? Because I've seen people like on the DKVine forum say with pretty extreme certainty what will be there, but I don't know if that's just internet people being internet people or if it's been announced.
We do know that what's the date on Sunday? It's the 13th. Okay,
14th.
Well, we do know that the 14th is the day that the Lucas DLC launches, which I think is going to happen like right after the Direct or like within a half hour of the Direct. So Lucas DLC, the next round of DLC, will launch like after the Direct. So we know so maybe that's going to be the focus of the Direct. Maybe they're going to talk about that. You got Lucas DLC, there's more costumes, there's a Miiverse integrated stage. All of that is coming as DLC. They also have talked in the past about a tournament mode, but they haven't said whether that is launching with this set of DLC. So that's a potential talking point. In addition to those, we know with good confidence, based on hacking the 3DS DLC update, that there's two characters in particular that we're confident are coming as DLC that have yet to be announced. That's Roy from Fire Emblem and Ryu from the Street Fighter franchise.
Yeah, now that one's pretty crazy. And
I think that's an E3 caliber reveal.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing is, people are wondering, does the fact that there's a Direct on Sunday focused on Smash Brothers, is that when we're getting this DLC, or is the Ryu, the E3 caliber reveal, is that coming during E3?
I could see Roy during Sunday, Ryu during the show.
Some people have speculated that we're going to get 3 characters this week, those 2 and a surprise.
What I would think is, I mean, it's pretty obvious that K. Rool is running away with the poll. I don't know if it would undermine the integrity of the poll to announce K. Rool DLC. Because all of a sudden,
here's the thing. Yes, I think K. Rool is running away with it. I still don't think we're going to see K. Rool.
Well, I don't.
Really?
I think that
I think Sakurai is so stuck in his ways. Maybe this is just me being a cynical bitch.
No, it's
like
just
you guys are with Kevin Callahan.
It's you projecting.
I think
how could you possibly know what's between his ears?
I'm inside his head, man. I know the way this man ticks.
I think the K. Rool is definitely a possibility, but I don't necessarily think that whatever the poll results come out to will be directly indicative of what they end up doing. I think it's just it's a poll. It'll inform their choices. In terms of if we get a third character reveal this week, whether it's Sunday tonight while you're listening or later in the week. I think it's going to be a veteran, a character that was cut from the series, like Roy,
that's so
Lucas,
boring,
Mewtwo.
though.
Wolf. It could be Wolf because
he's like a clone of a clone, though.
no, Wolf is unique.
He's like he's like the really stupid Michael Keaton for Multiplicity.
Yeah, it's like it gets a little watered down once you go beyond Falco.
The point is they're launching Lucas, so we're talking. Wolf is on the same caliber of similar list. Roy is just a clone of Marth. So
yeah, but
we
these
have
are all
we have a pattern.
The thing is, and this is why I'm so negative towards K. Rool actually having a shot. By the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't vote for K. Rool. Crock the vote, man. Crock the vote. But because that's at least showing Nintendo that we care about the Kremlin.
Also, hashtag Yesui-Kazooie and hashtag Dixie's a pretty good choice, too.
But here's why I'm so profoundly negative towards Sakurai's decision-making. It's very skewed towards what Japan wants. Japan wants these guys like Lucas and Roy, which mean nothing to
Japan wants all the veterans. Japan, for some reason, they want everyone who is ever in the series, even Pichu. They want fucking Pichu back.
The one who injured himself when he attacks.
But Lucas means nothing to the Western world. Literally, he means nothing. His game was never released here.
Well, yeah, Lucas would be the only character in the game that's Japan only, playable-wise.
So I think that his MO is let's give the Japanese gamers what they want, and then they'll and K. Rool's popular in Japan too. So I'm not like
that's why I don't think. I mean,
but
K.
I don't
Rool
think
is popular no matter how you cut it.
I think Sakurai is only going to use this poll to justify what he wants versus giving the fans exactly what they're looking for.
Or it's perhaps like, maybe it's just a general Nintendo popularity poll and they're framing it as a Smash Brothers thing, but this will inform what they do for non-Smash games.
And that's what I'm optimistic about.
There have been polls like this in the past with Brawl and with Melee, even going back to the N64. There's been one big poll that's been official, and
lads,
usually they tend to inform future games. Now, we've never before had DLC, so whether this poll will directly influence DLC or not, I do think it will influence the next game. So the Mega Man was the big reveal.
I don't care about the next Smash Brothers. Good lord!
I'm just saying, Mega Man was a big thing because Mega Man won a poll after Brawl. Yeah. And so, and K. Rool did very well in the Brawl poll, too, but he didn't show up in the next game. But the point is, the poll, we don't know to what extent the poll will influence them.
The point is, we know absolutely nothing.
The point is, there's no point to any of this. This is kind of a waste of a lot of lives, but it's fun.
Video games really have nothing to do with how the quality of life that you live. So
speaking of quality of life, you think we're going to see Nintendo's quality of life program here?
I've been waiting for that heart rate monitor for years.
Come on, I mean seriously, we heart. What is there a game title with that? I don't know.
You know what I want? A Nintendo.
Yeah, it's a Huckabees game.
you know what I want?
Huckabees.
I want a Nintendo cholesterol tester because I love putting my arm in
the Calesto tester.
The heart rate tester?
Yeah.
Calesto. I want that.
Calesto tester.
Yeah,
Is that what it's called? A Calesto tester?
No, he said cholesterol tester, and I just thought you could stick them together in one word. I don't.
Oh, it just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, Calesto tester.
Calesto tester.
Here's what I want to. I want to stick my dick in it because I've always wanted to do that.
You're talking about the pressure cuff at the
grocery
store
Walmart.
pharmacy?
I go to Walmart and I stick my dick in the thing, and nobody bats an eyelash because it's Walmart.
Yeah,
it's a savage no man's land.
Most people at Walmart, in fairness, all their eyelashes have fallen off years ago
because of the meth use.
The meth, yeah. happens.
All right. Well, I think Ryu and Roy will be shown off sometime around E3 week. K. Rool, I think we got to wait for that one.
Yeah, Roy is
One
at
way or
least
another.
somebody's boy.
Yeah, somebody. So the
Crack
other
the
thing I'm
vote.
interested about Roy is how are they going to differentiate him with the Koopaline?
I know that's people will say that's a stupid people will say that's a stupid complaint. That is a serious thing weighing on my soul right now. Why there can't be two characters?
That's something they're talking about in the White House Situation Room
right? Like
right
that's,
now.
Maybe I'm maybe mentally unstable for being so concerned. But the announcer, when Roy wins, says the winner is Roy, and it's the Koopaling. You can't have two different ones that the same name. This is an issue.
Well,
This is
yeah,
an
but they
issue.
could
They
just
should-
have the announcer say Roy, by which I mean the Koopaling.
Or they could do like a
Roy
first grade
Koopa.
classroom. They could do like a first grade classroom, have Roy K. and
Roy.
And original Roy.
and Roy.
That was actually when I was in
Fire
school.
Emblem.
Whenever there was multiple Jeffs, and they were like, "We're gonna have Jeff O and we're gonna have Jeff C or whatever," I insisted that I be called Jeff, and the other kids got letters.
I hope that this may mean that we can look forward to a spin-off chain of pizza restaurants called Original Roy's.
I'd buy it.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, I've been in New York too long now.
you were such.
Pizza Hut announced this week that they're releasing a new pizza with hot dogs cooked into the crust.
Oh, that's been out in India for years.
No, that's actually a real headline. That's coming out on the 28th.
Oh, in America?
Yeah, pizza.
Yeah, no, and yeah,
They're like little pigs in a blanket around the crust. It looks.
Yeah. They've been doing that batshit insanity in India for a long time.
I
This
didn't
is-
know that. Why don't I live in India? That's
That's a good question.
So Nintendo really should release that cholesterol tester. And
Yes.
soon.
as a promotion with Pizza Hut and Baja
All right.
Blast.
All right, guys. There's one more company we need to discuss real quick, and that is Playtonic.
Lionhead
because-
Studios.
Shut up. Shut your face. Playtonic. Because as we know, as we've well established, their Kickstarter ends right as Nintendo's Direct on Tuesday begins.
yeah.
And so that's got the creative centers of our brain worrying a bit, turning, spinning, churning,
Yeah.
gyrating, thrusting. Why?
Well, because of that time, and also because of a correspondence we might have had where it was suggested that Playtonic will be watching the Nintendo Direct.
Well, here's what I think is during the directs, and especially the big ones like the E3 ones, a lot of times they do like a sizzle reel of indie games that are going to come to the eShop, and I think we're going to see footage of Yooka-Laylee in that sizzle reel.
That
With
to me seems that's an E3 2016 thing though, because this Yooka-Laylee isn't planned to launch until at least October 2016.
Right.
Right, but they just.
So
I mean,
here's what I'm
it's-
thinking.
Okay.
Now, here's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
This autumn, Yooka-Laylee, Yooka and Laylee debut in Diddy Kong Racing Wii U.
You love the yarn. It's all about the yarn with you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a great narrative. I think that'd be fucking awesome.
Doesn't that send a tingle up your spine?
This is
Yes.
why he hates Kirby's Canvas Curse.
No, I don't really know. Like, it could be nothing. It could be a coincidence, but there's an awful lot of coincidences. around this
I don't
E3.
think it's a coincidence. The Diddy trademark could be a coincidence.
It
This
could be.
This I don't think is a coincidence.
The timing.
The Yooka-Laylee timing of their Kickstarter,
because it was what, it was like 46 days,
Yeah.
something that like
That's
doesn't
so
make sense.
arbitrary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They do a 30-day thing usually. This is 46, totally arbitrary. Ends on a very specific and noteworthy day. There's no way this is a coincidence.
Yeah, and if they
unless
wanted
they're just
to
trolling us.
if they wanted to
They
end
could be
it,
trolling us.
yeah, they could be. It is rare after all. These are the guys who created Stop and Swap. If they were going to end their campaign so it wouldn't overlap with the E3 news cycle, they would have ended it before Microsoft's conference. You know, the
Yeah.
fact that it's ending on the day of Nintendo,
Right, and the Microsoft, that would have made it, what, like 45 days?
right? That would have even
which
made
would
more
be a
sense.
great number, but 46 is too specific. There's got to be a correlation there.
Yeah.
And you know that they're focusing like the Nintendo, like what is Yooka-Laylee launching on
All of
Xbox
them.
One,
Everything.
Yeah, it's launching on everything. But they definitely have seemed to be, Wii U focused, or at least, they know that their fan base is Nintendo fans, and they know they need to launch the game on Wii U. They talked about Amiibos, so I mean, having a part in the Nintendo Direct presentation, whether it's a very small one or not, it would make sense for their fan base and for their MO.
Yeah, and then talking, regarding Yooka outside of the Nintendo sphere, we as this has been established, there's a Males Brothers connection here, and they've even talked about potentially in a future Banjo game having Yooka and Laylee meet Banjo and Kazooie. So
or having Banjo-Kazooie in the Xbox version of the Yooka-Laylee.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Oh! I thought you meant having Yooka-Laylee appear in a Banjo-Kazooie game.
I think it would be great if it was both. And
it could be like that episode of the Pod DK cast that crossed over with the Vine audio program.
Yeah, you see it from both perspectives depending on which thing
game
you're doing
that you're playing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so and maybe I'm losing my voice now here.
It's exciting.
We need that golden throat, Chad. We have a whole week where we need that throat of yours.
All right, I need to listen to more George Takei tapes to get it back. No, but I also would love if the Nintendo version of Yooka-Laylee would similarly have like a Kong crossover, considering these are the guys who invented Diddy Kong.
Absolutely, I think that's a very real possibility. People might scoff, "Oh, Hyle, and Chad and Jeff, they're just spinning a yarn." But I think anything's on the table in the Renaissance.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.